ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 28, Puranjan becomes a woman in the next life. Okay, so we are at the final shloka. Text 65. भरीष्मनेतदाध्यात्मं परोक्षेण प्रदर्शितं यत् परोक्षप्रियो देवो भगवान् विश्वभावनः. Translation.
My dear King Prachinabhari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, is celebrated to be known indirectly. Thus, I have described the story of Puranjana to you. Actually, it is an instruction for self realization. Purport. There are many similar stories in the Puranas for self realization. As stated in the Vedas, Poroksha Priya Ivahi Devaha. There are many stories in the Puranas that are intended to interest ordinary men in transcendental subjects. But actually, these refer to real facts. They are not to be considered stories without a transcendental purpose. Some of them refer to real historical facts. One should be interested, however, in the real purport of the story. Indirect instruction is quickly understandable for a common man. Factually, the path of Bhakti Yoga is the path of hearing directly about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu. But those who are not interested in hearing directly about the activities of the Lord, or who cannot understand them, can very effectively hear such stories and fables as this one narrated by Narad Muni. The following is a glossary
Yeah.
of some of the important words.
So here the purport concludes, and then we are going to see the next couple of pages, the glossary of the important words used in this particular chapter, Srila Prabhupada. That is the summary of these important words. So now here it is said, my dear King Prachina Barhi, the Supreme Lord is celebrated, is known as one who is Paroksha Priya. Paroksha Priya means interesting by indirect description. Okay. And I have described you the story of Puranjan to you. Actually, it is an instruction on self-realization. Right. So very beautiful words here. Yat Paroksha Priyo Devo Bhagavan Vishwa Bhavana. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains there are many similar stories in the Puranas for self-realization. And they are called as Paroksha Priya. So Paroksha Priya, Ivahi Devata. What is the meaning of it? It is meaning that there are many stories and these are intended to create interest in the ordinary person. Right. So that is called as Paroksha Priya. Very simple example is you ask somebody to do Ekadashi and you tell him that you do Ekadashi for spiritual advancement. He may not be so interested. You tell him that once in 15 days, you do intermittent fasting and that will help you, control your weight. That will help you control your so many parameters in the body. And one is very interested, right? And he says, okay, I will do Ekadashi. So both are doing Ekadashi, but one person is doing Ekadashi out of Paroksha Priya, right? He is very happy with indirect instruction. Another person is doing directly Ekadashi. Srila Prabhupada mentions that the indirect instruction is quickly understandable by the common man. This is the example of Ekadashi and fasting, right? Factually, the path of Bhakti Yoga is the path of hearing directly about the pastimes of the Supreme, Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu. And those who are not interested in hearing directly, then they are told very indirectly. So Bhagavad Gita is direct. Mahabharata is indirect. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita is very direct. Mahabharata is, it will talk about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and it's quite paroksha in that way. But the Lord is also known as Paroksha Priya. Lord also, likes this. In Bhagavad Gita, there are so many instances of the Lord. Tameva Sharanam Gacha. He says, Arjuna, go and surrender to that Supreme Lord. Who is that Supreme Lord? He only. He is standing on the chariot. But Krishna also feels, how many times I'll tell, surrender unto me, surrender unto me. So then there is Paroksha Priya. He is, indicating somebody else in that way. And this is how we conclude this particular chapter. Now, next 4 pages almost, there is a glossary of terms. So we will quickly see those terms which are used in this word, this particular chapter. So I will read the Sanskrit word and quickly pick up the explanation of that.
Yes.
Adeshakari,
The actions resulting from sinful activities.
Agastya,
The mind.
Amatya,
The governor of the senses, the mind.
Arabhuta,
Various types of Sravana and Kirtana of the Supreme Lord's name, quality, form, and so on.
yeah, Ari,
Impediments like disease.
Bhoga,
Enjoyment. Herein, this word refers to real enjoyment in spiritual life.
Vritya,
The servants of the body, namely the senses.
yeah, Dravida Raj,
Devotional service, or a person eligible to act in devotional service.
yeah. So if you remember that Dravida Deshe, and Srila Prabhupada writes, and then we saw one very beautiful shloka also, which describes that Bhakti originates in Dravida Desh and then slowly travels towards the north. And we see that all the 4 prominent acharyas of the 4 sampradaya, they are all, South Indian. Okay, so South Indian devotees who are attending something to note. Okay. Dwara.
The doors of the body, such as the eyes and the ears.
Yeah, so this is Navadware Pure Dehi. Gruha.
Home. For spiritual cultivation, one requires an undisturbed place or the good association of devotees.
Yeah, so this is the association. So Griha. What is this? Idma Dvaha.
The devotee who approaches the spiritual master,
Yeah,
idma,
pick up.
refers to wood that is taken to burn as fuel for a fire. A brahmachari is supposed to take this idma to ignite the fire used in performing sacrifices. By spiritual instruction, a brahmachari is trained to ignite a fire and offer oblations in the morning. He is supposed to go to the spiritual master to take lessons on transcendental subject matter. And the Vedic injunction is that when approaching the spiritual master, one must carry with him fuel to perform yajnas or sacrifices. The exact Vedic instructions is as follows. Tadvijnanartham sa gurum vivabhigachet samidpaniha Shrotriyam Brahma Nishtham. To learn transcendental subject matter, one must approach the spiritual master. In doing so, he should carry fuel to burn in sacrifice. The symptom of such a spiritual master is that he is expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion, and therefore he constantly engages in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mukunda Upanishad 1.2.10. By serving such a bona fide spiritual master, gradually, a conditioned soul becomes detached from material enjoyment and invariably makes progress in spiritual realization under the direction of the spiritual master. Those who are misled by the illusory energy are never interested in approaching a spiritual master to make life successful.
Yeah, so this is Idmava. So Prabhupada writes, Idma means wood, and Vahana means to Vahan Karna. Idma Vaha means one who is carrying the wood, and that is the disciple who is approaching the spiritual master. Jaya. Somebody can pick up.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Jaya.
Intelligence.
Intelligence.
Yes. Jirna Sarpa.
The
The
fatigue
fatigue,
air of life.
air of life.
Sorry.
Yeah. The Jirna Sarpa is, the air of life has become fatigued air of life. Exhausted. Okay, that is the Jirna Sarpa. Kala Kanya.
The invalidity of old age.
Yeah. Kama.
A high fever.
Kulachala.
A place where there is no disturbance.
Kutumbini.
Intelligence.
Yeah. So you see, the names used for intelligence are all feminine. Okay. So when it says that the Puranjan becomes a woman, the allegorical story, it is more from the perspective of the feminine. Okay. It is not that the woman will not have so every jiva is Purusha, and the intelligence of the jiva is Prakriti, is feminine. And that perspective we have to say this. Okay. Madhirekshana.
Madhirekshana refers to one whose eyes are so attractive that one who observes them becomes maddened by her. In other words, Madhirekshana means a very beautiful young girl. According to Jiva Goswami, Madhirekshana means a personified deity of bhakti. If one is attracted by the bhakti cult, he becomes engaged in the service of the Lord and the spiritual master, and thus his life becomes successful. The woman became a follower of her husband as she left her comfortable home for the service of her husband. A serious student of spiritual understanding must give up everything for the service of the spiritual master. As stated by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. If one wants actual success in life, he must strictly follow the instructions of the spiritual master. By following such instructions, one is sure to make rapid progress in spiritual life. This statement by Vishwanath Chakravarti is in pursuance of following injunction from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. Yasya deve para bhaktir tatha deve tatha guru. Tasyaite kathita artha prakashante mahatmana. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge automatically revealed. In the Chandogya Upanishad, it is said, Acharyavan Purusho Veda. One who approaches a bona fide spiritual master can understand everything about spiritual realization.
Yeah. So this is about Madhirekshana. So Madhirekshana means, Madhira means literally the intoxicating beverage, Madhira, right? And Ikshana means having the beautiful eyes. So one eyes are so attractive that one is maddened by those eyes. And Jiva Goswami says that here refers to devotional service, which is extremely attractive. In fact, devotional service is so attractive that one of the characteristics of devotional service is Krishnanu Karshini. Okay, devotional service can attract Krishna. Otherwise, what to speak of Krishna, even Krishna's devotees, Atma Ramascha Munayo, Nirgrantha Urukrame, Kurvanti Haitu Kim Bhaktim Ityam Bhuta Guno Hari. It is difficult in this world to attract even the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord, right? If they are so self-satisfied, then what to speak of Krishna, right? But bhakti is so powerful that it is considered as Krishnanukarshani. That Sarva Akarshak Krishna gets attracted to devotional service. And this has to be done under the guidance of bona fide spiritual master. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada quotes these three powerful shlokas about the surrendering authentic spiritual master. First is Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado. Second is Yasya Deve Parabhaktir Yatha Deve Tatha Guru. Tasyete Katitha hi Artha Prakashante Mahatmanah. And third is Chandogya Upanishad, and that is Acharyavan Purusho Veda. Right. So one is, both are Upanishad. It's Shvetashvatara Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, which is the Shruti mantras, and then one is Smriti, that is writing of the Acharya, that is especially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Malayadhvaja.
A nice devotee who is like sandalwood.
Panchal.
The five sense objects.
Parichhada.
The total aggregate of the senses.
Yeah. Paurajana.
The seven elements that constitute the body.
Pautra.
Patience and gravity.
Pautra, patience and gravity. Nice words, right? Having great patience and great gravity. Prajvara.
A kind of fever called Vishnu Jvara.
Yeah, so this should Prabhupada, right? This is like 107 Fahrenheit, and when it reaches there, then the body, it is unbearable for the soul to continue to stay in this Prajvara. Pratikriya.
Counteracting agents such as mantras and medicines.
Purapalaka.
The life air.
Yeah, so Pura is the city. Palaka means one who maintains the city. So maintainer of the city is Purapalaka, and therefore, this is life air. Pala comes from Palan Karna. Like we have this Nagarpal, Lokpal, right? So Palaka. Putra.
Consciousness.
Yes. Sainika.
The condition of threefold miseries.
Sapta Suta.
The seven sons, namely hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshipping the deity, and becoming a servant of the Lord.
So these are 7 out of 9 Navavidha devotional service. And Srila Prabhupada writes there that these are the 7 out of the 9, and then 2 are very special, especially Atmanivedanam and Sakhyam, worshipping the Lord with great friendship, and Atmanivedanam. Saurudha.
Endeavor.
Savruddhi, it is Savruddhi. Suta.
The son of Vaidarbhi are, in other words, one who is somewhat advanced in fruitive activities and who comes in contact with a devotee, spiritual master. Such a person becomes interested in the subject matter of the devotional service.
Yeah. So Suta is person coming in contact, and then they are explained about Sapta Suta. These are the 7 elements of Navavidha devotional service. Yes. So somebody else can pick up now. Vaidarbhi.
The woman who was formerly a man, but who looked formerly a man, but took birth as a woman in his next life because of too much attachment to a woman. Darba means kusha grass. In fruitive activities or karma kandya ceremonies, one requires kusha grass. Thus, Vaidarbhi refers to one who takes birth in a family of karma kandya understanding. However, if by karmakanda activities, one by chance comes in contact with a devotee, or as Vaidarbhi did when she married Malayadhvaja, his life becomes successful. He then pursues devotional service of the Lord. The conditioned soul becomes liberated simply by following the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master.
Yeah. So this Vaidarbhi, the Prabhupada writes Darbha. Darbha is the kusha grass. And Vaidarbha are those who have taken birth in the Karmakandiya families. But somehow, by chance, by chance means Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach. If they come across devotional service, then that combination is very powerful because they are coming from a very samskari family and they are exposed to devotional service. And in that way, that combination is very powerful and they can attain the highest goal in life. Next, Vaidarbha Raj Simha.
The best of persons who are expert in creative activities.
Yeah, so Raj Simha is Raja and Simha also both. Virya.
One who has mercy.
Yeah, so Satam Prasangata Mama Virya Samvido. Merciful activities of the Supreme Lord. Yavana.
The servant of Yamaraja.
Yes.
Thus in the Bhakti the purport of the fourth canto, 28th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Puranjana becomes a woman in the next life.
So very, very beautiful chapter this is. And this is how Narad Muni concludes his allegorical story along with, and then Prachina Parishad is going to have the further discussions. And therefore, the next chapter is the talks between Narada Muni and King Prachina Parishad. So this is how this chapter is over. So any discussion, question, comment, you are most welcome. We have another 7 minutes. So one name of the Lord here is Paroksha Priya. So Paroksha Priya is a very important name because devotional service or in general Vedic life is not very, very direct in the sense that, nowadays what happens is there is very gross display of emotions, gross public display of emotions. Like, when somebody has to prove that he is loving somebody, that means first thing is it need not be proven, but then one has to be constantly embracing or kissing or something like that. Even the sometimes the child also may expect that my mother should always embrace me or kiss me or something like that. So, but the Lord and the Vedic culture is more a paroksha priya. Paroksha priya means they will uh, they will have this understanding of, yeah, it is there, but not to be public display. So typically public display of emotions is not highly recommended in the Vedic lifestyle, right? Yeah, any other point? So we go to the next chapter, chapter 29. At least 1, 2 verses we can do. Chapter 29, the talks between Narada and King Prachina Barhi. Text 1. Prachina Barhi Uvacha Bhagavaste Vachosmam Swambhir न सम्यक् अवगम्यते कवयस्तद्विजानाति न वयं कर्मो मोहितः. Translation.
King Prachinabari replied, My dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranjana. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand, but for us who are overly attached to creative activities, to realize the purpose of your story is very difficult. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 7.3, Lord Krishna says, Tribhir Gunayir Bhaver Ebi Sarvam Idam Jagat मोहितं नाभिजानाति माम एवा एवाह एवाय param अव्ययम्. Deluded by the three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who can above the modes and inexhaustible. Generally, people are enchanted by the three modes of material nature and therefore practically unable to understand that behind all materialistic activities in the cosmic manifestation is the supreme personality of God at Krishna. Generally, when people are engaged in sinful or pious activities, they are not perfect in knowledge of devotional service. The allegorical story narrated by Narada Muni to King Brahmashriman is especially meant to engage conditioned souls in devotional service. The entire story narrated allegorically is easily understood by a person in devotional service, but those who are engaged not in devotional service but in sense gratification cannot perfectly understand it. That is the admitted by the king Barishman. This 29th chapter describes that by too much attachment for women, one becomes a woman in the next life. But a person who associates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his representative becomes free from all material attachments and is thus liberated.
Yeah. So we begin with this chapter, and here Prachina Barishat, he is now explaining, my dear sir, my dear lord, look at the L. L is small there, so it is referring to Narada Muni. We could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story. Because of overly attached to fruitive activities, the purpose of your story is very difficult to understand. Srila Prabhupada very aptly quotes, Mohitam nabhijanati. Mohitam, one who is deluded or bewildered by the three modes of material nature, nabhijanati. So, to the degree we are deluded by the three modes, to that degree we will not understand the Supreme. Mamevayam paramavyayam, that the Supreme Lord is. So, in a sense, Narada Muni, Parachana Barishat is requesting Narada Muni to explain in detail the characters that you mentioned in your story. I did understand the story, but I need a little more explanation. And then here Srila Prabhupada explains that the allegorical story narrated by Narada Muni to King Prachina Barishat is especially meant to engage conditioned souls in devotional service. And that is the conclusion of this story itself is. Later we will see that Prachina Barishat, he realizes his mistake of getting too attached to the family life, even at such a very advanced old age. And he decides to take Vanaprastha. And he leaves the home before his sons, Prachetas, come back from the austerity. So, very fortunate family. One Mahajan is engaged in instructing Prachetas, another Mahajan is engaged in delivering the father who is sitting at home, right? Lord Shiva and Narada Muni. So, we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura
Jai.
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone. Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Give the bath, give the